yeah, I mean, it involved me getting a lot of friends on board, just lending equipment from people. I built the studio myself at the time. I never built anything before, but just gutted it out, looked around, found pieces of wooden skips, and just built the most sort of pretty ugly table. Just put 2 turntables on, but it lasted. It was pretty sturdy, but pretty shoddy work. So we did that, managed to put it together. I sort of started in October 2010 to build the studio, but we weren't ready till April 2011 to broadcast. So yeah, in April 2011, broadcast for the first time, and I met someone called Claire. Claire used to work in Cafe Otto in Dalston. She's sort of a radio enthusiast as well. She was from New Zealand, and we just started talking one day because I used to go to Dan's Bar, Superstore, and Otto to work from, and we just started talking one day, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm interested in radio as well." And she just got involved. We put posters up all over the area, put in South London, put in North London, put all over London, saying we're looking for shows. We sort of worked out, okay, we have about 8 shows to start off with, we'll be fine. By the time we launched, we had about 30 shows, which we weren't expecting. We were just like, okay, this is interesting, see how we go from here. By June, we had about 60 shows. So it just doubled, and so the schedule was just filling up so quick. We couldn't really work out what it was. We just knew that it's growing really. It's a bit weird. We weren't expecting this. Then I sort of clocked onto the fact that there's a lot of people out there who are just like me. For me, I guess the main passion and reason for setting it up was, apart from my love for radio, and I was very sort of inspired at uni. I was very inspired by American college radio. Like there's a few of them at the time, WFMU, which was a college radio station, and there was another station called KCRW, which I used to listen to a lot. And there was East Village Radio, which is an independent online radio station as well. And those guys sort of inspired me because their programming was so diverse. Whereas here in the UK, we didn't really have that much stuff like that. There was nothing really like that happening. You had Rinse, but which was sort of mainly sort of UK dance centric. So it clocked onto me that there's a lot of people out there that are actually looking for this variation in music and and just programming, radio programming, and it's sort of evident on the station that one minute you're listening to someone playing jungle, and the next minute you're just hearing like a drone sound, and you can still keep people listening. People still stay hooked to the whole thing. So I mean, that's it. We've been, it's been going now for just over. We had our first birthday in April earlier this year. I'd sort of, everyone was like, you need to get a big venue. You need to get a big venue if you're going to do something. I was like, no, we just need to keep this small, man, because I don't think there's no point getting a big venue. No one's going to show up. So we said we'll have 600 tickets, 600 capacity venue. We ended up having a party, and there was just over 1,000 people showed up, and I was like, this is madness. That's when it dawned on me, okay, this is actually big. For 1 year in, we've managed to get 1,000 people done. There's a lot of hype behind it as well, and like Dan said earlier, we got a lot of hype. We had all these magazines that I don't even read writing about us, and as amazing as it was at the time, and as good as it was for profile and promo, it just wasn't what we were about. We were just all about quality content, music-wise, and then that's what we say to anyone who comes on the station. That look, we don't tell you what to do. We don't tell you what to play. You do your thing. It's just all about having a passion for music and knowing what you're talking about. Because there's no point coming on there, and just jumping on there and just basically not knowing what you're talking about. And it's having to separate that hype from the serious people, from the people who are actually into what they do. Has been the difficult part, but we've managed to do that, and with that now we're probably one of the biggest online radio stations you out there. We get roughly about 4,000 listeners a day, and it's growing constantly. Work-wise, I make my living off NTS. I never thought I'd ever make a living off. My mum thought I was mad, insane. She's like, "You're never gonna. How are you gonna do this?" But I make my living off it. We get to travel around the world, set up studios around the world, and broadcast from there, and it's, it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. And I guess the moral of this whole thing is, if you have an idea, just do it. If you have that passion behind you, no matter what it is, I strongly believe with hard work, passion, all of that, it'll be fine. Done. Thanks.
What would you say to someone who's, like you, had a passion, just felt in the wrong place every time, but was scared of making the jump for financial reasons because he felt like he might not be able to be financially viable doing his business?
We're basically put on this planet to work. Well, in this part of the world anyway. And if I'm going to work, I'm going to have to do something I enjoy doing, because I'm not just going to do, if I'm going to spend most of my life working, I'm going to have to do something. Job satisfaction basically is the most important thing. So whatever it is for me, whether it's the financial, whatever it is, just mentally, just being nervous about doing it, I'd just say to anyone who feels like that, you've got nothing to lose, really. I mean, you might have some physical things to lose, but it depends what your priorities are. It depends on what you want. If you feel like that's important to you, then then feel free to do that. But I guess I was sort of lucky in the sense that, well, I'm not lucky, I don't know, people argue, but those things weren't that important to me. What's more important to me is just mentally being satisfied, waking up in the morning knowing what I'm doing is what I want to do, and nothing else. So yeah, I just say do it. If that's really what they want to do, then of course just do it.
It sounded like when you were at university or college, you didn't really have any mentors around to inspire you. They came later on in life.
That's right, yeah.
Excuse my ignorance, but what do NTS Radio do to kind of inspire younger people?
There's two ways of looking at it for me anyway. Musically, I feel like we do try and open people up to other stuff other than what you hear on the charts or whatever is there on the mainstream. But on the other hand, something, before I actually went into this, something that sort of crossed something that I've always wanted to do. My mum's a teacher. Something I always wanted to do was either be a teacher or, apart from setting up a radio station, or work in social work. When I realized I had to go back to uni again to do something in social work, I decided I wasn't going to do it. But something that we've put a lot of energy to in regards to the station is working with kids in regards to music. We've got. I'm not trying to push anything here. We've got a massive event at the Tate next week Friday, and that's basically, again, young musicians together, a lot of them from Hackney, and to perform live with some visual accompaniment thing. So basically, for the past 2-3 weeks now, we've been working with young musicians. So just sort of giving them that opportunity to get their stuff out there. I mean, a lot of these kids are sort of between the age. One of them's 9, and the oldest one's about 17, and they play double basses and all this sort of instrument. They're an orchestra. So we've basically put together a little mini kid orchestra for this event. And the Tate. So stuff like that is what we're trying to do. And I don't know if they're getting anything from it. A lot of them don't say much. They're really shy. But we're trying to now that the radio is sort of set in regards to our programming and what we're doing, we can now put a lot of our energy into sort of other stuff like that.
I'm just curious, as somebody who's really interested in business and entrepreneurship, how do you make money out of running a radio station? Okay,
so we run the radio station the traditional way in regards to pirate radio stations are run in London. I don't know how pirate radio stations are run across the world, which is that if you basically pay for airtime. So that just keeps up that sort of keeps the running of the studio. That just keeps the studio running. In regards to making money for a salary for myself, it's been really interesting to see how there's a real interest in the sort of the London music scene around the world. Well, there always has been, it's unfortunate, but you have to rely on sort of on the brands that want to get involved, and they're all just trying to sell something. We know that. But one thing that is important for us when we do work with these brands is keeping that integrity. We never approach anyone; they approach us. We wait for them to approach us. They know we've got a reach of so and so thousand, so they're like, okay, we're trying to reach out to these people as well. How do we do that? That's how basically we advise them musically on how to do that. It's funny because I wanted to set up a radio station, but I actually have no running and have no involvement in the running of the radio station. I now have to work with these. We do now get to the other side of it, which is make sure we keep, basically all the money we get from this work keeps us doing interesting stuff that we do. And that's where my job comes in. I've got someone who sort of does the running, the day-to-day running of the radio station. So it's just sort of dealing with the right people, seeing if there's a fit there. We've worked with brands like Nike, and we're doing stuff with the VNA, with the Tate. We're going to be doing stuff with the VNA and the Arts Council and stuff like that. So it's just seeing what fits with what we do, whilst we sort of have the total control over what happens. And also from doing events, we do a lot of parties, and that's what keeps us going. I don't think you could be a millionaire from doing it, but I don't want to be a millionaire, so it's fine, it doesn't matter.